France was not always an empire. Before crowns, before emperors, before conquest, there was chaos. Out of revolution, bloodshed, and a broken monarchy, France would rise to dominate Europe under one of history's most powerful empires. This is the story of how France became an empire, and how it lost everything. Before becoming an empire, France was ruled by kings. For centuries, the monarchy controlled the land, the wealth, and all the power, while the vast majority of the population lived in poverty. By the late 1700s, the country was drowning in debt. Food was scarce, taxes were crippling. Anger filled the streets of Paris and beyond. The old system, the Ancien Regime, was collapsing under its own weight, and the people were more than ready for change. They were desperate for it. This desperation would soon ignite a fire that would burn across Europe. In 1789, that fire exploded into the French Revolution. The Bastille was stormed. The monarchy fell. King Louis XVI was executed by the guillotine. Nobles either fled the country or met the same fate. France declared itself a republic, a nation of citizens, not subjects. But freedom did not bring stability. Instead, it brought the reign of terror. Political violence, public executions, and pervasive fear ruled the new nation. France needed order. It needed a leader strong enough to tame the chaos. And soon it would find one in a very unexpected place. As European monarchies watched in horror, fearing the revolution would spread to their own lands, they declared war on France. In response, France built massive armies, conscripting citizens on an unprecedented scale. For the first time in modern history, soldiers were fighting not for a king, but for their nation, for an idea. This period of constant warfare created a new, powerful military culture and produced a generation of brilliant, ambitious generals. Among them was a young, gifted artillery officer from Corsica named Napoleon Bonaparte. War, which began as a defense of the revolution, would soon become the very foundation of the French Empire. In 1799, Napoleon, now a celebrated general, saw his opportunity. He seized power through a military coup. While France was still officially a republic, real, absolute power now belonged to him as first consul. But this wasn't enough for his ambition. In 1804, Napoleon took the final, dramatic step. In a grand ceremony at Notre Dame Cathedral in front of the people and representatives of the church, he took the crown from the Pope's hands and crowned himself Emperor of the French. The French Empire was born. Unlike the old monarchies of Europe, this new empire wasn't built on divine right or ancient bloodlines. It was built on military strength, modern law, and ruthlessly efficient centralized control. Under Emperor Napoleon, the French Empire expanded at a breathtaking pace. France's armies, the Grande Armée, marched across Europe, defeating the great powers of Austria, Prussia, and Russia in a series of stunning victories. Territories were conquered, from Spain to Poland. Borders were redrawn across the continent. French influence spread far beyond the battlefield, through new legal systems, standardized administration, and direct military occupation. At its peak, the French Empire, along with its client states, controlled most of continental Europe. For a brief, brilliant moment, France looked absolutely unstoppable. But the French Empire was not just about war and conquest. Napoleon was a reformer as much as he was a general. He introduced changes that would shape modern Europe for centuries to come. The most famous of these was the Napoleonic Code, a single set of laws that standardized the legal system, protected property rights, and promoted equality for all male citizens under the law. The economy, once in ruins, was stabilized. He created a national bank and invested in infrastructure. Education was reformed with a focus on creating skilled and loyal civil servants. Government became more efficient and meritocratic. But the entire system, the entire empire, depended heavily on one thing: constant, decisive military victory. And victory would not last forever. As the empire grew, so did the resistance. Occupied nations like Spain and Germany grew to resent French control, sparking brutal guerrilla wars and fueling a new sense of national identity. The long, continuous wars were draining France's treasury, and more importantly, its manpower. Then, in 1812, Napoleon made a single, fatal decision. Overconfident in his power, he invaded Russia with the largest European army ever assembled. This one catastrophic campaign would be the beginning of the end for the French Empire. The Russian campaign was an unmitigated disaster. The brutal Russian winter, combined with starvation and constant attacks during the long retreat, completely destroyed the Grande Armée. Of the over 600,000 men who invaded, fewer than 100,000 returned. Seeing France critically weakened, its old enemies Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria united against it. By 1814, Allied armies marched into Paris. Napoleon was forced to abdicate and was exiled to the island of Elba. The French Empire collapsed almost as quickly as it had risen. A brief, dramatic return to power the next year ended in final defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. The empire was over for good. The French Empire may have been short-lived, but it changed Europe forever. It dismantled ancient feudal structures, spread modern laws and administrative systems, and reshaped national borders. It proved that an empire could rise from revolution, built on talent and national will, not just royal blood.